Welcome back, everybody. It is your favorite college football pick'em podcast, and it looks a little bit different. It's just me, so it's gonna be a little shorter video. Ben had some scheduled conflicts this week, so he wasn't able to join me. And Corey, our producer, same deal. So it's just gonna be me. A little bit of a quicker episode. Just gonna quickly dive in to the recap as well as pick some games for you guys. We have a decent slate on the docket for this week. Excuse me, sorry, I'm just pulling up my sports book so I'm able to tell you guys the correct lines and everything, because I don't think I was able to do that, or I did that last week with as much emphasis as I would like to. So, excuse me. So, let's just quickly, get to a quick recap of last week. 4 top 10 teams lose. Of course, we knew some of that was going to happen just because the matchup Ole Miss loses at Georgia to suffer their first loss, as does Texas Tech losing at Arizona State. Sun Devils were right back in the Big 12 picture, and with that being also back in the college football playoff, as they only have the one conference loss. Now, they now own the tiebreaker over the, what are they called? Red Raiders. But yeah, and Ole Miss loses. Memphis lost, suffered their first loss of the season, cost themselves game day, had a chance to probably have game day back in the Bluff City for the first time ever. LSU also lost to Vandy. They're pretty much out of it. And trying to remember all the teams that lost last week. In Miami, of course, that was the big shocker on Friday. If you heard our show last week, we're in all season, we've been high on Miami. Me especially been really high on Carson Beck. Old Carson Beck came back. That's a loss that I think could help them though later in the season, because I think it could end up preventing them from playing in the ACC championship game, because Louisville now owns that tiebreaker, but they also do have to win the rest of the games if that is what ends up happening to make the playoff. But a lot to dissect, and kind of harder when it's just one person. But a lot of good college football happened last week, and a lot of good college football, I think, is going to happen this week. We have count it 1, 2, 3 top 25 on top 25 matchups, with the headliner, of course, being where game day is this week in Nashville, with Vandy taking on Missouri. Commodores are favored by 2.5, and we'll just start there. This is a game, and it's a second straight kind of game for Vandy. And Vandy's going to be quite a few of these games. You got Tennessee. Tennessee suffered their second loss, losing to Bama last week in the third Saturday of October, in a game where Josh Heupel, if you kick a field goal there, buddy, I mean, you probably still lose by 14, but I mean, some people would have been happy, people that took the over on your game, but you don't care about us. And my read on this game is Diego Pavia. Does your team have Diego Pavia? No. My other issue with Missouri is that this is going to be, in my opinion, a nip and tuck type of game. This is going to be a game that I think could come down to the wire. And if they're not able, now granted, LSU has zero running game to speak of, have had zero running game all season long. That's what has led to a lot of their struggles. And if Ahmad Hardy is held in check at all, I think it could be a very long day for the Tigers. So give me the Commodores minus the 2.5. I just think it's going to be a very tough game for Missouri. It's one of those. What have you done? What have you done for me in that kind of spot this season? And you've seen Missouri really in one of these spots, and they lost it at home to Bama. Both of those did not play well, and Diego Pavia in these spots, he had the letdown against Bama, but he had the really big bounce back in a Heisman-esque performance against LSU last week. So give me the Commodores minus the 2.5 Another Red Dog Ranch matchup is LSU, only 2.5 point underdogs, hosting Texas A&M. Number 3 Texas A&M. Aggies are 7-0 for I think the first time since the stats 94. So this is something I've obviously never seen in my lifetime, but that line is one of those where it's like the book's telling you to take LSU, and like the stats on FanDuel at least is like 69% of the money is coming in on 69% of the money is coming in on LSU. 76% of the on A&M. 76% of the bets are coming in on A&M. Give me the Aggies. I think Marcel Reed, that defense though was not good. I think Arkansas is going to be a team they're gonna pick off. I don't know the rest of their schedule by heart off the top of my head, but let me just look it up real quick because it's my show by myself. It's the show by myself, so I can kind of do whatever I want. But their remaining schedule, they have Texas. They go to Texas. They go to LSU, and they host Missouri. I think they could easily win all 3 of these games. I think this is a team in Arkansas. They're on the bye this week. They're hosting Auburn this week. They're in a prime position there to finally get a win under Petrino. But this is a team in Arkansas that I think the offense has been fixed. The defense is still bad. And not trying to go too much of a path, but the way they played against A&M last week, I would say if LSU's able to do that, but the thing is, it's LSU and North Carolina. They're the only 2 Power 4 teams that have not scored 25 points or more in a game this season. And I don't think it's happening this week. I think A&M's defense, again, you just got to stop the run. You just have to stop the run you just have to stop the pass when you play LSU. There's really no running game to speak of. So give me the Aggies minus the 2.5. I might alt it up a little bit. I just think it's a tough thing to ask for LSU. So I just think, and they won this game. They won a ranked matchup at the beginning of the season against Clemson. Clemson's not that good, and every spot they've had since then, they have just not shown up. The Ole Miss game, the offense didn't show up. Obviously, last week, the defense didn't show up either. I think A&M's offense is really good. So I know it's going to be a night game. It's a night game, though, in Death Valley. But give me A&M. Give me A&M money line. I'll just take that. Just give me A&M money line. I'll stay away from the points, even though you're giving me 2.5. Give me A&M money line, and I can deal with an overtime game. And then our last tournament matchup, again, it's going to be kind of a quicker show with only one of us talking, is Ole Miss at Oklahoma in a true. If for Oklahoma, it's a losing. You're probably done. We talked about this a few weeks ago when we did our mid-season playoff picture. Me nor Ben had Oklahoma in it, and part of the reason was that the gauntlet they go through, the gauntlet they're going to go through at the end of the season. And I just think that this is a tough spot for both teams. And Ole Miss looked so good for 3 quarters last week. And I think they're going to be able to fully put it together. I don't think Oklahoma's offense, now granted, it looked a lot better last week than it did against Texas in the Red River rivalry. But I just give me Ole Miss in the points. It's a 4.5 point spread. Give me Ole Miss in the points. The guys love it. Both of them actually love Ole Miss to win outright. I'll get into that when we talk about our locks. But I'll stick with just the points with Ole Miss, and I'll just live happy with those. But I think it's a tough spot for both teams. Trinidad Chambliss, again, he played really well. Ben actually took him to win the Heisman before the game, and it was dang near double money profit at the end of the third quarter, and then now it's quickly gone all the way back. It's actually, the odds have doubled against them since then. So, but I think this is a bounce back spot for Ole Miss. It's a bounce back spot for Lane Kiffin. So give me Ole Miss in the points. I'll stick away from the money, and I don't like the totals in any of these games. That's why I haven't really discussed them, especially in the LSU A&M game, because as I mentioned, I mean, your LSU's offense has been putrid all season long, and I think that stays true against what's supposed to be good Texas A&M defense. Though it did not look that last week, though I do think Arkansas's offense is hitting their stride with Petrino able to just have full control over that. And then obviously we'll have our two added games. The first added game is probably the game that Corey probably wanted to talk about and not talk about. It's Memphis hosting number 18 South Florida. South Florida has put a stranglehold at this point on not just the American, but the Group of 5 playoff berth. They're in number 18th in the country. Memphis, of course, unranked now after losing last week as dang near 4 touchdown favorite. Lost outright last week to UAB with an interim head coach. Talk about an interim head coach bump. Sometimes you just take the spread. UAB take the money line there. So my read on this game is points. It's a lot of points. I think Memphis's defense did not look well at all. To tell you the truth, last week, though, I think that it was a 34-27 final score, and so USF's offense has looked really, really good in these spots against G5 teams. The one game that they really didn't look good so dominant offensively was, of course, the Miami game and the Florida game. So again, those are Power 4 teams. So give me the Bulls minus the 4.5. And it's sad, honestly, when you look at it from a Memphis perspective, because I'm recording this on Wednesday. And this time last week, 5 days ago, maybe not 4 days ago because the game was over, but 5 days ago, you thought Memphis had a chance to host game day. And then come kickoff, you knew you definitely had a chance because you knew they weren't going to go to A&M LSU because LSU had already lost. Now, could they probably still gone to Vandy? Maybe. But, I mean, Memphis had the prime opportunity to host college game day, and they messed it up. They lost. So, I think it's a bounce back spot, yes, but it's also a letdown. It's also, a true kind of spot where you can just fall apart. And I think that ball starts rolling for Memphis. So give me the Bulls minus 4.5. And the last game I'm going to talk about is my Mississippi State Bulldogs. Arch Manning makes his first appearance. They're playing Texas 7.5-point favorites. Arch Manning makes his first appearance in college, first start in the state of Mississippi. I think it's probably his first start ever in the state of Mississippi, unless they traveled when he was in high school up here, or up there. I'm in the state north of Mississippi now. But 315 kick, over under set 44.5. Do not know the status of Fluff Bothwell. If Fluff plays, I think State has a chance. Though that Texas defense is really good. You saw that against Oklahoma. But this is my soapbox that I'm going to say. Jeff Lebby has done a lot of good this season. A lot of good in the last 2 years, even though the record didn't show it last season, where that team was still, even after the Toledo game, they were still showing fighting games. and the talent disparity was obviously there. This year, key transfers, the talent disparity has shrunk, and you've been in. I mean, they're 4-3 now. They started 4-0. They could easily be 6-1, and that's the part that sucks. Is that this team could easily be 6-1, and coming into the season, if you told me that, honestly, coming into the season, if you'd said, hey, you're gonna be 4-3, I probably would have taken that. But it's played out the way it's played out, and you talk about giving up that fourth down against Tennessee, and then not scoring in overtime, and then the A&M game just gets away from you because the offense doesn't perform the entire game. And then last week, I'd given up. I texted a buddy of mine, the best man at my wedding. He's actually a Florida fan, and I texted him, and of course, big news I kind of glossed over. Billy Napier has been let go as the Florida head coach. It's actually, because this brings me into it, it's the third time in 5 seasons, second time in 3 seasons that a team has beat Mississippi State, and then the following day fired their coach. Happened with Auburn. They fired Gus Malzahn. He was dancing in the locker room. Next day, he was out of a job. Happened 2 years ago, Jimbo Fisher. They blew us out of the water, 51-10. Next day, got fired. And then Saturday, Mississippi State almost ends a streak of over 2 years now since their last SEC win, and they blew it. They absolutely blew it. Threw a pass, and this is my spot on Levy. I get that he has done a lot, but right there and right then, that point, I think because biggest play of that drive was a run. Now, granted, it was a quarterback draw or a quarterback scramble, but it was a run. And Devon Booth had a nice little run. And, he came out in his press conference and he said, well, I wanted to get like 5-6 more yards. We thought we had a quick hitter. And we just kind of threw it to the wrong guy. Well, yeah, he threw it to the wrong guy. He threw it to a 315-pound defensive tackle that had dropped in coverage. I don't know how you don't see that guy. I don't know how you missed that guy. But it was there. And if now granted, again, pressure was in his face, so it's like, could Blake have been rushed? There's been a lot of talk of benching Chapin. I think Camario is really good. The plays we've seen him, he's done well. He still, from my recollection, has only thrown 1 pass. And it was a reverse pass for a touchdown against Alcorn State. So it's like, okay, he does. And I'm not saying he can't read the coverages better than Blake, but it's one of the situations of, do you want to throw him out there? He gets gun shy and loses his confidence. But at this point, quite honestly, maybe this is a decision that they make after this game. But it's like, what do you have to lose? Like, you're 4-3. You're probably not going to a bowl game at this point because you would have to win. I mean, their remaining home schedule is Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, and their other 2 games are at Missouri and at Arkansas. As an optimistic fan as I am, I don't see 2 wins in that. I don't see 1 win in those. And so we're talking probably back-to-back 0-8 seasons in the SEC. And if you put it on a 3-year window, that's 1-23 in the last 3 seasons. And so in the SEC, and I'm not saying that Jeff should lose his job. I definitely think that he's done a lot to where you give him that 3rd season, regardless of how the season plays out. Now, granted, if we get blown out the last 5 games of the season by an average of like 25 points, then maybe I'm tooting a different horn. But that Saturday sucked. I tweeted, and I retweeted from our Twitter account at AB Talk Sports. Give us a follow if you haven't already. But I tweeted from that account, or I tweeted from my personal account, so you can also give me a follow, I guess, there. But I went to a haunted house with my wife right after that because we were in Nashville. I went to see the Patriots play, and I said I am going to go stare those clowns in the face because nothing can hurt me more than I already have been hurt today. And it was a crushing blow. And I think it's one of those losses that happens when you have no hope, and then all of a sudden you have hope. Like when we pulled back up to our hotel. We had been out shopping, and I've been following the game obviously. And we pulled back up to our hotel, and the game was on, and we'd sacked DJ. I was like, okay, we have a chance. And then Blake makes that run. It's like, okay, we have a chance. Like we just got to get in field goal range. We're only down 2. It threw me back to the Arizona State game. I was like, where's Brennan? And sure enough, Brennan was open on the last play, and he just threw it to the wrong guy. So, but my read on this game is, I think Texas has not proven. I mean, if you just go against spread record, Texas has not proven that they can really cover the spread. 75% of the money is actually coming in on Mississippi State. 70% of the bets is coming on Mississippi State spread. So give me Mississippi State in the plus 7.5, and I'm going to rock with that. We're actually 6-1 against the spread, so if you bet on us all season, you're making money. That's making, not Megan making. So I'm making money though. Good follow. Good picks. But yeah, that is the games, and then parlay, which Ben's parlays actually started, so you'll have to get in this on a little bit late. He has New Mexico, a midweek game, New Mexico plus 1.5. They're tied 7-7 now with 10-13 to go in the second quarter against Missouri State. So I'll just read y'all. He's got a 10-legger. So I'll just read y'all the last 9. He has Virginia Tech money line against Cal. He has Boise State minus 21.5 against Nevada. He has Ole Miss money line. Again, that's plus money. With that, against Oklahoma, he has Wake Forest money line against SMU. He has UCLA plus 24.5 against Indiana. He has UConn minus 10.5 against Rice. New Mexico minus 2.5 against Utah State. Baylor plus 5.5 against Cincinnati. And then his upset special is Michigan State money line against Michigan. That $1 pays out just over 2,600. Again, one of those games has kicked off, so your odds are going to be a little bit lighter. My parlay is, you're actually going to see me cook it live on air, boys and girls. Again, I love an alt parlay. That is Mississippi State plus 12.5. That's an alt line, money line A&M against LSU. Tennessee alt line minus 4.5 against Kentucky. Alabama alt line minus 7.5 against South Carolina, and then Vandy money line against Missouri. Plus 9.89 on the sports book, so that on FanDuel. So $10 bet wins you just over $100. The podcast parlay with our locks is going to be for Corey. Corey's bet against the Tigers. Yes, he's taking USF minus 6.5 against Memphis. He is also taking Ole Miss minus 2.5. So he not only thinks Ole Miss will win, he thinks that they will win by more than 3. So USF right now is plus money at that 6.5, and then Ole Miss is obviously going to be plus money minus the 2.5. Corey's locks of the year, or on the year, are 5 and 3. We're getting that information now as we speak. So Ole Miss minus 2.5, so that's actually plus 186 on the docket. Ben also had one of his locks was New Mexico minus the 1.5, plus the 1.5, and then New Mexico State, and then his other lock is going to be New Mexico minus 2.5. 1 second, I just got to find that so I can plug it in. Then here's New Mexico minus 2.5. My locks. Again, you're going to see me cook this live, boys and girls. On my first lock of the week last week. Thank you, Missouri. My lock is going to be Vandy money line. I just think Vandy is really, really good. I think they have a chance. I think Diego Pavia is a Heisman contender. And then my other lock is going to be. I'm going to get back to the and plays that I ended up taking, but didn't put as my locks. I'm going to get back to that this week. And that's Big Ten teams traveling to West Coast. And so I'm going to actually take Washington minus the 4.5. They're hosting Illinois, traveling 2 time zones. So again, the parlay excluding this is the podcast parlay excluding the New Mexico State line because we're recording this, or I'm recording this and putting this out after. So the podcast parlay is South Florida minus 6.5, Ole Miss minus 2.5, New Mexico minus 2.5, Vandy money line, Washington minus 4.5. That is a plus 3,374 on the docket. So a $10 bet wins you over $330. $100 bet, of course, wins you over $3,300. And that is going to be it. Again, quicker show, just me. Hopefully Ben's back next week. And for you people who might want to go against us, again, Corey is 5-3. I am 1-7. I'll be posting the locks records at the when we're finishing calculating up all those numbers. So probably safer to go with Corey's bets than mine, but it is what it is, everybody. And good luck. Happy betting. Peace.